welcome to Becoming Better Together. I'm your host, Brie. Today we are joined by a very, very special guest. His name is Chris Keaton. He gave me some interesting things to say about him for his bio. Basically that he's king of the known universe and he's the nicest guy in the world. And I can attest to this. We met as strangers online and he is truly one of the nicest humans I have met. So Chris, you are a fabulous human. He is the connector between songwriters and music industry producers. He knows all kinds of people out there. He's got amazing stories. And so we get to be graced with his presence today. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Brie. Does everyone out there hear the same trumpets blowing that I hear right now? Because this is like I have entered a whole new universe. Thank you for all those nice things that you said about me. And in the next 30 to 45 minutes, I will prove them all to be incorrect. But no, so thank you for having me on here. And also thank you for reaching out. And yes, to your listeners, we did meet in the most random fashion online, which is actually interesting because, you know, I have a podcast. I've got about 21 episodes out and I haven't done any in quite a while, but I promise everybody I'm going to get back to it. It's called Random Acts. Ooh. See? And the way that we got connected is totally random. So there's that.
Exactly. All right. So you guys have heard it here first. He's getting back into podcasting. We will hold you accountable.
Thank you.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit, you're an author now too. Tell us a little bit about your background and what this new book is about and what inspired it.
Okay. So my background, you know, is obviously everyone can tell because I don't really have any sort of accent whatsoever, just in case you didn't realize that I'm from the South. And being raised in the South, there used to be this thing known as civility. I think it's pretty much gone these days, but I'm trying to bring it back. My book is called Dapper, and it's all about being a gentleman. And it's actually, I refer to it as an etiquette primer for gentlemen and the ladies who love them. Now, it's sometimes inappropriate because I do say some things in there that probably shouldn't be said in mixed company, but you know, that's just the way it is. But again, I mean, it's not rocket science. It is holding the door. It is using those three magic words, please and thank you, and responding to emails and phone calls in a timely manner. That one's going to come back to bite me too, but that's okay. That will hold me accountable to this because now I've put it out there in the universe, right?
Yes. Sometimes it takes a little bit of self-awareness to really see the problems that others have as well. And sometimes we have to kind of eat our own dog food, I'm going to call it, so that we can help change things and get our own life together.
This crow tastes really good. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. Excellent. Well, tell me a little bit. We talked before about how you kind of got into personal development after going through a crazy ride during the 70s and being in the deep of the rock and roll universe in the music world.
Yes. So, yes, I was on the road in the 70s. I know it's terribly hard to believe. I was 9 years old, but you know, I'm kidding. And it was a different world. I mean, it was a really different world. I mean, it was crazy all the time. The 5 other gentlemen and I in the same band at that time, we're all very fortunate to still be alive after everything that we did in those days. But I went from there, played in some other bands with some very creative individuals. And in 2016, I got inducted into the North Carolina Music Hall of Fame with a band that I was in the late 80s and the early 90s. And it was like the greatest gift of all time. The quick story to it is I was in this band, a beach music band. They were called the Band of Oz. Okay, just like the Land of Oz or the Wizard of Oz. Well, me being me, just about every other day, I would ask the leader, you know, if we're called the Band of Oz, don't you think we ought to do Over the Rainbow? And basically his response to me most of the time was just basically drop dead. I don't even want to hear it. So I kept asking. And then one night he said, look, tired of you asking, but if you go and do a demo of the arrangement you want to hear, we'll listen to it and maybe we'll record it. So when he said maybe, I'm hearing, yes, it's a done deal. Mm-hmm. So I go and make a demo, bring it into them. They loved it. But what made them really love it was we had 4 lead singers in the band, and one of them had a beautiful baritone voice. And I had never heard Somewhere Over the Rainbow sung by that kind of voice. And so I suggested that, and they were all about it. We recorded it, and it became the biggest selling single that band has had to this day. Wow. Yeah. So when they got inducted into the North Carolina Music Hall of Fame, they invited me to go in with them. And again, it was just a real gift. Nice. And so then I kind of aged out of being an artist and all that. So I moved to Nashville 30 years ago. Actually, when I moved, I thought, I'm going to move down there and be a record company president. Well, the only problem was when I got there, I found that all those jobs were taken. So kind of had to reinvent. I looked around. I saw that the guys that had the nicest cars, nicest houses, and year-round suntans were music publishers. And I'm like, sweet, I'm figuring that out. And I did, and I got very, very lucky, and I was very, very successful in that. And then from there, it kind of morphed into me helping emerging artists and songwriters, because when I moved to Nashville, fortunately for me, the most important people in the business there still would take calls from someone like me, or they would take meetings with someone like me. You didn't really need an introduction or anything like that. Well, nowadays, not so much. So I offer my services to emerging artists and songwriters who want to get their songs or their artistry heard by people in the industry who can help them. So I call myself the connector. Used to call myself a middleman, but that wasn't like the best thing ever, because middleman doesn't have the, because you always see those commercials. Yeah, just cut out the middleman. Well, right. I didn't want people cutting me out. So fortunately for me, Malcolm Gladwell wrote a great book called The Tipping Point, and one of the chapters in there was about connectors and mavens. And a connector is someone, according to him, who knows a lot of people within an industry and is in a habit of introducing other people to the aforementioned people. I thought, well, that's what I do. So that's who I am. Now I'm the connector.
Beautiful.
Ta-da.
And what I'm hearing throughout that story too, I love that it started with a maybe, that you're like, that means yes, it's going to happen. And anytime you hit a little bump, like you moved to Nashville and it wasn't quite what you expected, so you took a pivot and it all worked out. You, my friend, never gave up, and it all worked in your favor.
Well, thank you. But that's the key to it. I mean, no only means no right this second in most cases. Some cases, it really means no. We won't get into that, but you know what I'm saying. But most of the time, no just means not right this minute. It may work at some other time. But the whole maybe thing came from, there was a guy named Jerry Weintraub who passed away a couple of years ago. He was a movie producer. He was a concert promoter. But before that, he was a booking agent back in the day. And he had the legacy of he would ask people a question, they'd say maybe, and let me back up. He would ask people a question, they would say no, and he heard them saying maybe. And if they said maybe, he was hearing yes. So that was the world he lived in. Perfect example of it was he woke up in the middle of the night once in the middle 70s, told his wife, I just had a dream. I'm going to book Elvis's next tour. And she said, you're crazy. You don't even know Elvis. He said, well, watch. So the next day he gets up and he gets Colonel Tom Parker's phone number, the manager for Elvis, calls him, says, Tom Parker says, hello. Jerry says, is this Colonel Tom Parker? Yes. Do you manage Elvis? Yes. I want to book Elvis's next tour. No, you're crazy, and hung up. Jerry called him every day for a year, every day. The majority of the time, it was the conversation was the same. About the third or fourth call, after the first 2 answers, Jerry said, wait a minute, you said yes twice. You can't say no this time. And Colonel Tom Parker said, watch me, and said no, and hung up. finally, after a year, he said, yes, if you really want to promote Elvis's next tour, meet me in Las Vegas tomorrow with $1 million in cash, and you can do it. And Jerry said, cool, I'll meet you there. Hung up and then thought, where am I going to get $1 million? Right. Well, he did. He got it from an investor, ended up flying to Vegas, suitcase full of money. He booked Elvis's largest tours that Elvis ever did.
Wow.
So there it is. Yeah. Power of positive thinking, I think.
Seriously. And just not taking no for an answer. When you have that belief and you just, what else do you have to lose? You just keep going and eventually you get there.
I agree. Completely.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. You said you had some questions for me. I'm curious. I'm really curious now.
Okay. So don't want to answer 5. That's okay. But this is one that I just learned the other day that really works great to let people know who you are. So Brie, tell me up to 5 things. You can just tell me 1 or 2 if you want, but up to 5 things that people don't know about you.
Okay. Ooh, I like this. All right. So when I was very young, I don't know if you ever saw the show Dance Moms. I think it was on Bravo. I actually danced at that studio, Candy Apples, the competitor studio, until I was like 13 or 14 as a competitive dancer. My sister and I, like, we were those little dance kids growing up that had the French braids and the eyelashes and all that. Like, we were in every number. I had a great childhood, but I had no life outside of dance until I was about 14.
I love it.
Most people do not know that.
That's 1.
2, I was very, very shy. My sister grew up, she's 5 years older than me. I only have 1. She was my voice until she basically moved to college. And then suddenly I had to speak for myself. So when I was younger, I was the mumbler. And I would all the time, my mom, my poor mother, you're mumbling. And then I would speak even softer. And I was this little mute, silent, shy child. And now I do this. So I don't really know what happened, but here I am.
I think you took some vitamin C, confidence. I think you did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. A 3rd thing nobody really knows. So I got fired from my first ever job because it was me being a golf cart attendant. Some people that know me from the past will really laugh at this. I was a beer cart girl when I was 18 and it was my first summer back at home. This is like the only job I've really ever been fired from. So I think it's hilarious, but this just shows how people grow and change. My friend and I got one of my girlfriends hired to work with us, and it was the last golf outing of the season. And so we decided to see who could sell the most liquor. I won by a lot. I also drank the most liquor that day by a lot because then all the men were buying me shots and it was me like, oh, I can sell things. This was my first taste of sales. Really, truly, is this where it started, me being the beer cart girl? So I got fired that day because I got very drunk. I woke up after passing out, actually in the hospital, with like $400 in tips in my purse and a court date that said you need to go do some community service because I was underage drinking. Ooh, so that was my like first. Ooh, hold on. Nobody really knows that, so now it's on the podcast. But
That's a good one.
It was a good one. There were videos of my one friend that came to like pick me up or visit me or something. My mom was moving my sister into a house in college, so she wasn't home for this. So when she got home, it was there was a silent battle that went on, and that was a whole other story for another day. But he has pictures of me with his elephant hat on, and I don't remember any of this in my 18-year-old self. But yeah, that was a moment of maybe Brie should watch her alcohol intake. And that's where it began.
Well, it's, that's a good wake up call, but it's also, it also, listen, makes a great story. And as you well know, people don't buy the services that we give them. They buy the stories behind it. I mean, that's really what they want.
Yeah, it's true. What other good stories do I have?
That it?
One of my absolute bucket list activities, I got to take my mom to Maui once. And so I plan to
Sweet.
take her there again. But that was a trip that she said that was her dream vacation. And I took her back in 2018 from a sales trip that I won. And so I got to bring her as my guest, and that was my gift kind of back to her for dealing with all of my shenanigans growing up. And
That's
it
a
was
good
honestly one of the
payback.
best. It was great payback. It really was. And it was one of the best trips I've ever had. We went to the Four Seasons. And so it was all these couples celebrating anniversaries and me and my mom. So everybody in the resort knew us because it was me and my mom. And so we were famous in the resort, and everybody was just so kind. It was really quite cool.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a good one. So I got my shit together and I turned that around. But then the last one, I have some sort of dream. I don't know how it's going to come into reality, but I want this to happen. And so I keep one of my mantras or whatever you want to say, is that I will be on stage with Tony Robbins sometime in 2024. I don't know how, but I know it's going to happen.
You don't need to worry about how. If you got, let's go with that frou-frou thing. If you have a strong enough why, you don't need a how, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I love that. So thank you for bearing with me and giving me those 5, because they're really good.
Thank you.
They really are. I mean, and thank you for sharing particularly number 3.
The golf cart story.
Yeah. I want to see the picture of the elephant hat, but
I do too. It's got to be somewhere in Verizon Cloud. I'm sure if one of my old college buddies hears this, I'll get sent this photo one day. I know I will. It'll surface. We shall see.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
5 things that I don't know about you yet.
Okay, believe it or not, number 1, I am 67 years old. That's number 1.
I did not know that.
And I can't believe it even myself. Number 2, I have a daughter who is like me 2.0. Oh yeah. Look out, world. Maddie Keaton. She lives in Chicago. She kicks butt. She's really strong. Number 3, I was a teenager. I thought it was cool to smoke cigarettes. How stupid is that? And I'm pretty sure it caused me brain damage for years after that. But okay, and so this is, I lose count too. That's another one. Is this number 4? Okay.
You're on 4. Yep.
I play piano reasonably well, and playing the piano, I actually wrote a song for my wife and my wedding. Now, I didn't sing it. I mean, I'm good, but I'm not that good to sing at my own wedding. I didn't, but I did write a song. And actually, she and I are about to celebrate an anniversary, so I've been, playing it more and more.
There you go.
Trying to lock in those brownie points, for when I'm bad. But okay. The 5th one is I love to collect local art. I have a ton of art in my house that I bought from local artists in Nashville, and I really like supporting that. I really like talking to artists and asking them, artists, whether they're songwriters or visual artists, I like to find out what the inspiration is. And that's like the most amazing journey for people to tell me that. So I like art. The reason I like art is because I like to ask the artist about it. So those are 5 things.
There you go. All right. From your experience, how important is it to you? You've met a lot of people. You can probably tell the difference between the people that truly do go after their passions and the people that say they would love to and then find all the reasons why not to. What do you think is the difference that allows people to really make it and explore those things that you truly love?
And I'm stealing this from your opening act next year in 2024. Tony, what's his name? The that'll come back to bite me, I'm sure.
Yes, it will. I was saying, put that in the interview.
We all have habits, but you develop the habits that you want to develop to take you further in your career. And this one I stole from Tony Robbins' mentor, Jim Rohn, which is everything you want to do is easy to do, but everything you want to do is also easy not to do. And you just have to make that decision. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who just kind of self-destruct themselves, and it's really unfortunate, but it just happens. And in my line of work, what I kind of have to do is when somebody comes along and they are saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and oh yeah, things are going to be great, everything's going to be awesome, I have to kind of take it with a grain of salt, and I have to picture them standing there flat-footed, pointing at me going, you didn't do anything for me, I did everything myself, and I'll tell you what, I don't need you anymore, thank you very much, get out of here. Because that does happen.
Yeah.
And then when it does happen, I can at least go, oh, well, there it is. It's kind of like when you get married and somebody gives you some china, the first thing you need to do is hold that one of those pieces of china and love it and think how great it is, and then picture it broken, so that when it does break, you can just go, oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
Was that good or what?
Don't get so attached.
Was that good or what?
Yeah. That was good. I saw your video the other day too about the 3 rules to life.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Lay that back on us.
So the 3 rules to life are: number 1, it's knowing that you treat everyone with respect, love, and kindness, and also then know that the other 2 rules don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Toss them.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You were the one person who liked it. Thank you.
Was it really?
No.
Because we're in this together. But it's true.
We are.
What else? I mean, you are truly the connector. And even you, with your passion for collecting art, what makes it so special and so deep is that you take it that step further and you go connect with the artist. That's amazing.
Yes. Well, thank you. And I really do. And I think part of that is just because I'm intensely curious. I was the kid with the metal butter knife getting ready to stick it in the electric outlet, because I wanted to know. Good thing I got stopped before I got there. Or, I would have been that kid in the meme that says, this kid's going places, not college, but places.
Yeah.
So
what got you curious then about Tony Robbins? Because that's how we ultimately did get connected.
Yeah. Way back, I saw him on the TV infomercials when he was not hawking, but he was presenting, or he was offering, oh God, that'll come back too. He was offering, I'm pretty sure it was A Power Within or Unleash the Power or something, one of those. But here's how long ago it was. It was cassettes.
Yes. And
I was in a pretty rough spot in my life at that point. And I was watching on TV and I was thinking, I really need to do that. And then it was like, it's $180. And I'm like, I can't spend $180 on that. And I realized I had just spent $180 on some ridiculous, frivolous thing that was probably going to kill me. And so I ordered it. And that was the beginning of things turning around. I mean, it wasn't that things were bad for me before. They were good for me before, but they really got better because, like I say, I started developing those habits and doing those things that put me a little bit ahead of other people trying to do what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. How important was attaching to even understanding your mindset to you in that stage of kind of that, I'll call it like the awakening moment, when you're kind of looking around, seeing what you're doing, then realizing where your money's going towards fun and numbing activities, we'll say, compared to, wait, maybe I can invest $180 on myself and my thoughts. That's kind of crazy, but you did it.
Yes. but but yes, it was, again, I'll sneak this one in there too. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew that something had to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I had a lot in me that I could continue to develop and make things happen, not just for myself, but for other people around me too. And so, yeah, that was the thing. It was just that aha moment of, again, here's a choice that's easy to make or easy not to make. And fortunately for me, I made the correct choice.
There you go. Do you still have that feeling in you too, that there's still so much more you can do?
Oh yeah. And I think about it every day. I mean, I still do suffer a little bit with procrastination, not terribly, but one of the things that I've learned about that is that if you want to be successful, you really have to do everything you can do in one day, everything that you can do in that day, not to rush forward and try to do stuff that's due tomorrow, today, or whatever, but do everything that you can do in the most efficient way every day. And if you do that, you're successful. I find myself from time to time putting stuff off and then going, oh yeah, I'll just do it tomorrow. And almost every time there will be some sort of reminder, like the next morning of, oh, this happened here. And the reason this happened is because you didn't do that yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of it, and I know that you know this from us talking on the phone that time, is that the sense of enlightenment is always there. It's we make the decision to be aware of those things that are going on around us. Somebody in one of the books I read, I know what it was. It was a book called No Limits. And the guy's talking about at any given moment, there are 10 billion bits of information floating around us, 10 billion. And we can totally conceptualize 14.
I believe that.
So I think, to your point, my moment of enlightenment, I'm fortunate that it came along. It just made me more aware of things and really, truthfully, more aware of how grateful I need to be every day, because everything happens for me, not to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm really glad you brought up gratitude. I've been running a challenge this month all about gratitude, where we're doing intentional activities where you start your morning journaling about it, and then you have an activity to carry throughout the day. How much has gratitude made an impact on you personally?
It's everything. I mean, truthfully, it is everything. It is causing my life to continue to be better every day. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying my life gets better all the time. It's amazing. And it really has to do with gratitude. And I think that gratitude opens up all of those things that come to you. And it comes to this too, like you're talking about the being intentional with gratitude. It's really the easiest thing in the world. Because if you stop to think about it, gratitude, you're being grateful for the abundance around you. Well, here's one. Okay, breathing. All right. There's so much air around us. There's an abundance of air around us. You can't possibly breathe all that air. Now, if you're not grateful for the fact that there's that much air around, you need to check your pulse, because, everything else is gravy on top of that, right?
That's a really good example. However, it talks to the point about how so many of us come from a place of lack where we don't think there's enough. And so we need to make sure we get our share, because if there isn't enough to go around, especially money is the biggest one, where it's not like we're like air, it is abundant. We can see it, and there's an infinite amount, it seems like. But when it comes to money, and I ask people to be grateful for it, no matter the situation, why do you think that's so much harder for everybody?
Because they don't know the secret.
And what is the secret?
Money grows on trees. I mean, it does. Listen. It does.
It does.
It's paper. Where does paper come from? Trees. Now, I know some people are going to sit there and go, oh, that guy makes me want to puke. Well, that's okay. At least I got you to do something. And now you're not just sitting there. But No, I think there is enough money to go around. You just have to appreciate money for what it is, which is a tool.
Yes.
It's not the end all be all. The end all be all is a black Ferrari, a 2012 California. That's the end all be all. But other than that, that'll bite me too. I don't mean to make it sound like everybody can have money, but everybody can decide on how they want to look at money.
Yes.
And if you look at money, in my view, is that there's enough of it out there to go around. You just have to figure out a way to go and legally and ethically get it.
Mm-hmm. To me, money is energy, and I didn't used to believe that, but it is. It's an energetic exchange. When you give money, you let it pass through you. When you spend it, it's for certain purposes and reasons. And when you're in that place of there isn't enough, we hold on to it and we hoard. And then we don't go out and invest in the things that make us happy. And we don't go out and we buy the artwork that has meaning for us. And then we get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that in
right.
industry?
I totally see that. I totally see it all the time. And again, I wish I could remember which philosopher it was, but it was way, way back. They said there are two things in the world: circulation, stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As long as things are circulating, everything's going fine. But when you stop something, just like with a creek, this is the hillbilly in me now. Here you go. So when you stop up a creek, you have the potential of making that water stagnant, and mosquitoes grow and all kinds of nasty stuff that you don't want to deal with. But if you let the water flow and take only what you need out of it and let it keep going, then everything works. Yeah. And I think same is true with money. And again, we're crossing over into the gospel according to Chris, which is not a book in the Bible, and rightly so. But if money comes to me, it should come to me and through me. I need to give some of it away. I feel very strongly about that, because I feel like if I don't, and when I look back into my past when things weren't as great as they should be, it was because I wasn't giving money to people that needed it more than me. Mm-hmm. So circulation, I think, is key.
Absolutely. And bringing back that gratitude too for everything that you do have. Absolutely. All right. So for yourself personally, whether it's money or time or effort, what's the greatest investment you've made in yourself?
Learning to be grateful. Truly. I mean, that's the key to everything. I mean, truly, it really is a key to everything. And I try to, this is the one that still is difficult, not difficult, but not as easy as being grateful for things that are already around me. Trying to be grateful for things that have yet to show up, because I think that's a real key to it too. Mm-hmm.
Explain what that means a little more for somebody that doesn't quite know that idea of it, accepting that you already have it now, even though you don't.
Well, it's sort of that, but it's also like if you pray or you talk to the universe or whatever you want to call it, the higher power, if you say something like, again, and I'm going to put a joke in the middle of it, but thank you for that 2012 Ferrari California black on black that's coming to me. Mm-hmm. That helps to manifest it.
It does.
And even if it doesn't, at least there for that second, I'm seeing myself, going from 0 to 60 in 1.5 seconds.
And what does that do for your mood?
Well, it elevates my mood because it makes me feel better. And truthfully, the reality is, when I get that car, it may not be as good as the way as I have built it up to be in my own mind, because I've already been there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, wow, this thing took a turn, didn't it?
Wow, we went into some philosophical stuff. Sorry, I didn't tell you about that.
No, that's okay.
We're gonna go deep today, Chris. Get ready. All right. That being said, Is there anything that you want to share that you have learned that you think would be great for those people in that personal development space that you know that I love and serve, and just try to open their eyes to this world that we talk about?
I am grateful that for whatever forces that were around you and me, that you and I met, okay? Because now we've had two really great conversations. I'm a better person for having known you or knowing you. And I think that if everybody will think about it in that way, and think about it like when you see the phone ring, think about the fact that, hey, this could be bringing a gift to me. And if not, if it's the extended warranty for your car, you can always hang up on them. I mean, just click, delete.
Yeah.
But I think the key, again, is be thankful and be grateful. And again, like again, the randomness of how we got connected, that was predisposed by some activities that you and I had going on. And again, it was probably, we were both in a Tony Robbins programs at different times, or maybe the same time, but we had that commonality, and it did draw us together somehow. And I think that, again, that goes into being aware of the good things that are happening around you.
Yes.
Because there's always something good happening around you. It's just what you choose to see.
Exactly. And just being open to the unexpected and the unknown and not fear it. We scheduled a call with each other, barely knowing anything, and we connected right away and had a lot of fun doing it. And there's so many people that are so intimidated by others that they don't know, because it's foreign and it's unknown and it's uncertain. And so we fear it. And instead, we could have so much fun by connecting all the time.
Right. And I guess you could look at it this way too. It's like, how bad could it be? I mean, if you get on a phone call with somebody and it's not going well, you can go, hey, listen, I'm sorry. I've got something that's just come up. I've got to go. I apologize, but I got to go. It's not, I don't know. I mean, your example there, it again is one that's kind of hard for me to grasp, because I'm really not afraid to pick up the phone, or not afraid to walk up to somebody and introduce myself. But again, that's me, and everybody is not like me, thankfully so.
And that's why we need to connect us to things. And that's why the singers and songwriters and people in the music industry, and who knows what other industries, we need someone like you that isn't afraid to connect all those pieces and help.
Well, thank you. And actually, there is the other career. I mean, I do work for Macy's as well, and I'm in a really neat position there, and it is about connecting with people. Mm-hmm. So, I have finally, after all of these years, discovered my purpose, and it's 3 words. It's I can help. Mm-hmm. I can help songwriters. I can help people looking for suits. I can help brides that want to set up a registry. I can help you discover those 5 things that people don't know about you, including number 3, which is one that will never leave me. I'm telling you.
I know. Oh, this is gonna come and haunt me. I already know it.
No.
No, this has been lovely. All right. How do we come find you? How does my audience get in touch with you? How would you like them to come find you?
Very easy. My email is Chris, CHRIS, @chriskeaton.com. My website is, as we say down south, www.chriskeaton.com. My Facebook is facebook.com, Chris Keaton Music. Or if you're really adventurous, you can follow me on Instagram at Chris initial J Keaton, CHRISJKEATON. But I'm gonna tell you what, my Instagram, no holes are barred. I will say and do anything on there.
So that's where we want to find him the most, because we'll get the
That's
most.
exactly right. Yeah, forget everything else.
Yeah, we'll get the most raw version of you, which is my favorite. So
I sure do appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much, Chris. It has been a pleasure as always. I love our conversations. It's great to just get to know your world. And again, we come from very different places. Circumstantially or by happenstance, we met. And we got to share stories and connect about stories from the 70s and Tony Robbins on cassette tape and where we are now. And for the audience, I guess the main message is don't be afraid to connect with anybody that comes your way. You never know who's going to call your phone and make your day.
That's exactly right. Thank you.
That's what I got. Thank you, Chris. We will see you again soon.
Thank you, Brie.